All right, so apologies, guys. I didn't realize that my time limit was my time limit. So we're back with the second section of this. And I guess just to round up before we get into the cons, which will kind of tie into my con, I did like the fact, despite maybe how it was handled, I did like the fact that Piccolo and Gohan got new transformations. Now the terms of it will be in my cons, but I'm like, I like this. This is not a bad idea. So kick it back out to you, Tim. What were your cons? What did you not like about this movie?
Gohan's transformation. I don't like it. I don't like it at all because first off, I've started to realize with these Saiyans, they're starting to just do too much Dragon. Like I get it. All right, there's another brand, Dragon Ball Heroes. And I get it. That's a bunch of like what if scenarios, like Marvel what if, like just let your creativity roam. But I do feel like
Raditz, bro.
but I do feel with the canon series, you need to have like, all right, how did this transformation come about? What is the behind it? Like, for example, when I saw Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, okay, I understood that that's Super Saiyan Blue. Fuse a Kaioken, but then even what they did Super Saiyan Blue, they've made us figure out, all right, Super Saiyan God is using God Ki. It's a transformation of introducing God Ki into your body.
Mm-hmm.
And when you activate Super Saiyan, that's the new look that comes along with it. Mm-hmm. Now, Vegeta Blue Evolution kind of threw me off. So what does that mean? Does the person have to go through the levels of Super Saiyan all over again?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was basically Super Vegeta when he fought Cell. Like that's basically what that form was. But so I'm trying to figure that out. So what does this mean for future God transformations? Now, of course, due to the recent arc, we've already seen those God transformations are kind of out of the window now. It's Ultra Instinct, and Ultra Ego. But then to go back to my point, it's like, these transformations are starting to get too left now. So like, yes, like, Mystic Gohan, I understood maybe that was like him, receiving like God Ki training through the Elder Kai. Because remember, you realize that Kais and the God of Destructions, they're all linked together. They have a life link together.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the Kai is the lesser one out of the duo. Mm-hmm. So I thought like, all right, yes, so maybe that's Kai's Ki, not God Ki.
Mm-hmm.
But then my thing about it is, all right, so he just gets mad again, and there's this new Super Saiyan-like form with red eyes that has no explanation whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like a complete, like, rehashing of when 16 died and he unlocked Super Saiyan 2. And it's just like, so, okay, that's what we're doing here. So that's my first one.
Mm-hmm.
My second one was Cell. Like, as charismatic as of a character Cell was, especially when he got into his perfect form, like Cell was like, I see why Magenta was very hard on Cell, because it's like Cell was really like a patriot to him. Like, no, Cell lived out his design down to his death.
Sure did. And he was a super troll.
Like, he was all about living out his design. And, even after like he would have destroyed the earth, he's like, all right, so what is my purpose beyond this? Like, so it was like, he was like almost like Ultron.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or even Amazo from the DC, like, what is higher than the next level? What is higher than that? So like, he was always in a constant ascension mode to see like how you said earlier, basically a Harudagon version of Cell. That was a bit of a buzzkill. Because first off, he wasn't made of the cells of the DBZ users.
No.
So he didn't have none of their techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Hito just made him a different way, but you could tell he still had mechanical parts mixed with him. So he was like a hybridish type of android, because when his arm got severed, I was like, so he's not going to grow it back?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all like, all right, well, this dude can't regenerate, so that takes the annoying part out of it. You just got to shoot him in the head.
I guess before we even continue that, would you have preferred, right? So let's just say they're having this meeting, they're planning the story. and there is no way that the final villain is not Cell in some form, would you have preferred that they brought the actual Cell back in comparison?
I miss Cell a lot. I even thought about it, it's like, bro, why is this so many overly focused on Frieza? Like, I get it. That was some fan service way of like bringing Cell back in some form. But like, all right, yeah, since the Red Ribbon Army doesn't really know about the Dragon Balls like that, because Dr. Gero probably would have just used them when he had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
But you could tell it was more about like, through the pride of what we could produce to fight against our enemies. So I guess that was just the best product that they could make. It was just like, well, maybe, maybe he did have an intelligence, or maybe, when Magenta, released him early, maybe his mind wasn't fully developed yet. And maybe that's why he was just a raging monster. But it was like, I mean, I was like, because I was even thinking like, was that supposed to be his final design? Because he had his second form's head, but Perfect Cell's body. So like, was he fully finished? And he had a different type of tail. So it was like, it's just a bunch of what if questions. And I feel like that's where Dragon Ball Super is kind of going. Ever since like the reveal of Golden Frieza, is like everything is just a what if type of scenario now.
Yeah, because and the reason why I asked that is because thinking back to the Golden Frieza thing, right, where it's like there was this idea, and whether, of course, now in hindsight, where people change their minds, right, but there was a desire for Frieza to have relevancy again, right? When you ask 10 Dragon Ball fans what their favorite Dragon Ball Z arc is, most will tell you the Planet Namek arc, the Frieza fight, right? So they bring back Frieza because he was the most popular requested villain. How he was handled is up for debate. Some people like it, other people don't. You have expressed to me many times that you're not a fan of how Modern Frieza got handled. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like, there's some ideas that I like, others that I don't. And the reason why I asked that question is because I wonder if, because they saw how Frieza was kind of received with a mixed bag, maybe they're a little bit hesitant to bring back actual Cell. Because it's like, well, if we bring back Cell, do we have to give him a new form? If we give him a new form and they don't like it, like we're kind of doing the whole Frieza argument all over again. It's like, I wonder if Cell Max was like, well, we want to bring back Cell, but we don't want to like tarnish the idea of him that, longtime fans like, you and I have of that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was the best that they could. And he served his purpose overall, but it was just like, those are my two cons. Like the whole more what if transformations that we know that we're not going to get no explanation for.
Oh, like, like I told you before, like I love your theory about Gohan. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And it could easily be explained that way.
Well, we won't know until the interviews with the actual directors, because YouTubers right now are trying to decipher this down to the wire, but nobody really could find out. Piccolo's, I understood. It's basically maybe this is an ascension of Namekians that probably hasn't been awakened for years. I mean, of course, the dragon would know, since it is a byproduct of Namekian culture. So he's a sentient being that knows all of Namekian cultures for millennia. So maybe there were like, super Namekians past this point, and this is what they became. But then, of course, down the years of a more peaceful like nature, this is the product of what they are now.
Right. There was no need for them to kind of continue. I get that. Okay, so those are your two cons, essentially. Okay. My cons, let's see. To, I guess, stay in the transformation conversation, which I have texted you about. For as much as I love the fact that Piccolo got two forms, I was not crazy about Orange Piccolo's design. It gave me Hulk vibes. Like, I didn't understand why they needed to make the tallest Z fighter even taller. The bulk, I don't mind as much. It was the height. I don't mind if he had gotten bulkier, but the fact that he's already like 7 foot and now he's like 9, it's just like, bro, come on. Like, I didn't see the need. I'm like, this was definitely a drastic difference from, I don't know what Piccolo Unlocked, right? Whatever his yellow form is being called. And I'm like, okay, I like the fact that they changed it up. But the fact that he just became, again, Piccolo Hulk, to me, I was like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. With Gohan, again, the idea was cool. I think your theory about him kind of like pushing the Kai power to another level makes a lot of sense. I just felt like the design itself was lazy. You know, it was just too on the nose. It's like he's already in the Piccolo uniform. You have the thing where the screen turns red. It looks just like Super Saiyan 2. It's just like, bro, come on. You know what I'm saying? He has that ultra bang. You know, it's just like I was not crazy about that design either. And I do wonder if they're going to explain it, right? Because I think, you know, like we talked about before, I was like, the problem with fans of any genre or anything is that if you give these creators an inch, they'll take it and run with it. The fact that Vegeta Blue Evolution came out, nobody said anything, right? Super Saiyan Rage for Trunks happened, nobody said anything, right? It's like, oh, it looks cool, and it did look cool, but I'm just like, yo, this happened out of nowhere, and we never got an explanation for it. And I'm just like, that was what worried me. Coming like, if this happens here and there's not enough backlash, they're gonna do it again. And I felt like with Gohan, especially, it was just like new form. Why? He was mad. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, so I was not super crazy about their designs. I think, especially if you show a fan who hasn't watched Dragon Ball in a while, like, yo, this is what Gohan and Piccolo look like. They'd be like, what is this? What am I looking at? You know? So that was too much for me. What you said about how Gohan triggers a transformation was also lazy, right? Like, if I could have, I don't know, been in the writing room to rewrite it, it's just like, why couldn't Gohan just be mad at his own inconsistencies, right? Why couldn't it be where, like, we're all about to get wiped out, all because I didn't take the time to really harness my power, you know, and here it is, everyone's life is on the line because I keep relying on my dad and Vegeta. And that kind of sparks him to take it to new heights. Not Piccolo, which is like one of the problems with modern Dragon Ball, where it's like death gets tossed around so easily. Like, you've seen Piccolo die before at this point. You know, why would this be any more of a trigger than any of the other times he's either been dead or close to death? You know what I'm saying? Like, what changed? You know, like, if anything, it could have been like putting Pan's life in danger. That to me would have been more of an emotional, like, this is my child now.
Actually, yes, like maybe like Energy Blast was about to ricochet to her, and you know, you do the self-sacrifice, and like how Piccolo did for you versus Nappa, and you know that triggered like, I have to be more than what I am now.
Yeah, so it was just lazy. It was lazy. The form, I mean, we'll see how it looks in 2D. I'm sure, you know, maybe with the right art style, it might win us over.
We'll see in Fighter Z2. We'll see in Fighter Z2.
Yeah. What else was I not crazy about? I guess I wasn't super crazy about Gamma 2's death. It felt pointless. And I actually I think I preferred him over Gamma 1 just ever so slightly.
I think the whole death thing, I was like, so you mean to tell me an android that you created, you don't have a memory bank, like a hard drive or something? You could just create him a new body and just upload his memories. And you would think like, because like I'm thinking like as a mad scientist, like, all right, and you could tell like he's a kid at heart. Yeah, bro, I would have your memory bank stored to some cloud, bro.
Right. Which, I mean, again, there's nothing to say that he doesn't, right? But it wasn't specifically said in the movie, you know?
Yeah, so that part was a bit like, okay, yeah, he passed away. And then the super serious one is the one who's left over. But because you could tell, like, you know, with the whole superhero thing, number 2 was the one who took it higher the most. Remember, like I said, the holographic symbols. So you could tell, like, that they were both heroes, but then you could tell they were different types. One was very Batmanish, like looking at you stupid type. The other one was like a very like Flash type, like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, look at me. So like, yeah, so they both lived up to their hype, but then like his death was like, yeah, like I mean, you could just make him another body.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't feel. I'm like, what does this mean, really?
Because my thing about it is with Magenta dead now, because the world still sees them as Red Ribbon Pharmaceuticals. So what's up? So what's up with all this cash though?
And that was actually going to be one of my next, more of a nitpicky con, but definitely a con of like we joked about this in text where it's like, yo, countless soldiers were just murdered when Cellmax blew up. These people have families, wives and kids to come home to, or husbands to come home to. And the base is just, there's a part of the world that probably relies on Red Ribbon Pharmaceutical tech for
pharmaceutical.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what happens? Does Capsule Corporation just absorb them now and it's now Capsule Corp Pharmaceuticals? I don't know. Right. But it's just like, again, death is taken so trivially in Dragon Ball. We're just like, yo, this wiped out an entire company. And it's just like, oh, well, Hank can fly now. So whatever. It's like, okay. And I would say my last con, and again, it's more of a nitpicky one, is I didn't like the Broly tease. I was not a fan. They threw Broly in all the promotional trailers, and he has half a clip in the movie. We don't get to see him fight. It's mentioned that he's still having trouble controlling his rage. He's not even in the exhibition match. Goku and Vegeta is just, hey, he's here. We didn't forget about him. Like, there might be something with him in the future, but in this particular movie that we've used in all the promo trailers with him, he's there.
Yeah, I think they just use that part as a hint of he's seeking asylum with Whis, but then my thing about it is like, all right, yes, if Frieza does find him, like he could still kill Frieza. He's proven that
body Frieza.
proven that he can body Frieza. Is just like, yeah, he has two people with him that he might take hostage, but then it's come to the point where it's like, all right, bro, if they're literally just collateral, they're collateral because that's the way Dragon Ball Z treats people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then now you see that, they're under protection of Whis now because, Barris loves the guy's cooking. And of course he likes the other girl.
Yeah, Chile.
So they're under his protection now. But then it's like, all right, so what is to become of this big? And then now I'm starting to see that Dragon Ball Z has now established a big three, this Super Saiyan trio, big three. Mm-hmm. What has really become of this?
Mm-hmm. I guess time will tell. So that does bring into a segue of my next topic of one, how would you rank this in terms of a standalone movie versus how would you rank it in terms of how does it push the Dragon Ball franchise for you?
As a movie, I would give it like a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Out of 10?
Yeah, I would give it a 6.
Wow. Okay.
I give it a solid 6. For multiple reasons, I'll give it a solid 6. But as to push the franchise forward, I would give it a 5. Because honestly, like it's like you could tell they're just having too much fun with animation styles and what ifs. But where's the real concrete like stuff that is going to push this series forward? Like in terms of like how many times are we going to fight a bunch of aliens and then the Red Ribbon Army is back?
Right.
Like how many times are we going to keep going in the same loop? And it's like it's time for Super to really like, and they showed this with the Granola arc, and I believe the tournament arc as well. I believe they showed elements of that in those two sagas. Like, to be honest, I didn't really care for Goku Black Saga at all. I feel like they ruined Future Trunks with that.
I mean, yes, they did.
Yeah,
they did. I love the ideas.
There was a lot of plot holes in that storyline that I just didn't really. I just tuned it out and just watched the fight to the end. And then, like I said, I am really enjoying the Granola arc. Because once again, it's starting to see Goku's exploring his Saiyan roots more about his father, his mother. But yeah, like I really need Super to really get a grip of itself, like and truly maximize on its assets. Like, because for example, like I really hate what they've done to Krillin and Tien. Like those two humans, especially because like you could sense for a while that Yamcha and Chaozu were just going to get fizzled out.
Mm-hmm.
Krillin and Tien, like especially Krillin, who like I've always appreciated Dragon Ball version of Krillin the best. Like, because Krillin was a person, like, he had motivation, bro.
Mm-hmm.
He had so much motivation, but complacency has really ruined him. Like, Krillin's best efforts were the Namek Saga. Like, you know, when they were fighting the Ginyu Force all the way up to Frieza's, like, final form, this was Krillin. This was Krillin. Like, Krillin was a trickster. Like, you rushing at me full speed trying to kill me. Oh, solar flare, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you turn your back? This, blah. But then now he's just this warrior that, oh, my wife just could handle it for me.
You know, okay. You didn't like how he was handling Tournament of Power, or even in this movie? I felt like they handled him pretty well.
Tournament of Power, he had his high moments, but he was the first person knocked out, bro. I was like, really?
That's true.
And then the other thing about that is with Tien, like Tien was like the equivalent, like, and I'm speaking for Dragon Ball sense, Tien was like the Neji of Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
He was a rival. Like he had so many techniques, so many ways that, like, he was a threat. Like, yeah, he eventually became a friend, but it's like, bro, now he's just this sacrificial lamb, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, it goes back to what I said, bro. If you're not an alien or an android, you're nothing.
Okay. I would say in terms of ranking, I think it's like an 8 out of 10 for me. And I think especially because lore-wise, there was just so much that was done that I really appreciated. Like, I think going back to your point about the androids from earlier, I'm like, I think it is almost kind of criminal how quickly Android 17, 18, and even 16 kind of get rushed over in the original series to make way for Cell. And you could argue that Cell was probably the stronger aspect of that arc. But it's like it's a very interesting concept, right? It kind of does bring in humans to some degree back into the forefront because they are partially human. Yes. And I like the fact that, there was this idea that, yeah, even in this day of gods and destroyers, Earth is still pumping out like threats. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't sleep on like the genius of Earthlings. So I like the fact that there was like, here's all this lore that even ties back to the original Dragon Ball of like, yo, this is Earth just pumps out high quality, fighters basically. And I enjoyed that a lot. And like I said, I enjoyed it shifting away from the usual Goku Vegeta formula for a movie. In terms of how it pushes towards the franchise, I agree. I don't think it does it a service. There was just a lot of just hints and signs of this is Dragon Ball Super, the merch making franchise, right? It's like, here is these new figures of Piccolo we're going to sell you, this new Gohan we're going to sell you, the Gammas, Cell Max, and we're going to pump this out for the next foreseeable future. And you were going to buy it all up because what else are you going to do as a fan?
That's very true.
So that was one of the things that I felt was a little bit more on display than ever for me, where it's just like, I understand Dragon Ball has to make money, but it's Dragon Ball. It's going to make money. There is, a Dragon Ball Heroes audience for a reason. As ridiculous as that series is, people just enjoy Dragon Ball. They enjoy the fact that they finally get to see all their kid fan arts come to life on screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, there doesn't need to be that much of a push of like, how can we sell? It's going to sell. It's Dragon Ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, nostalgia alone will power us to the theater regardless. So I don't think it did the series in terms of pushing it in a new direction any favors. And I think what you said earlier about just finding ways to make either storylines or even characters relevant is something that's still not at the forefront. Like, there's all these things where, what you said about Broly and Goku Vegeta, it's like they mentioned the fact that, they're still looking for ways on their own to surpass the other destroyer gods. When does that get explored? Does that mean they're going to continue to transform? I don't want to see more transformations, but that seems to be their next goal. Like, how can we surpass Beerus and Co? And Broly seems to have a part in all of that. they still haven't explored the other universes. Still, like we still don't know what alternate planet Vegeta or planet whatever it's called looks like. And I think those are still places it can go. I agree with you, Tien. I think Tien, they did a pretty good job in Super as to not kind of paint him as this recluse, right? He's opening his own karate school. He's, changing the Crane style into something more positive rather than assassination based. And I think that's really interesting. But that's about as far as it goes, because then he gets to turn into power and he gets embarrassed and yada, yada, yada. And when Piccolo's thinking about who to recruit, he doesn't even mention his name. And it's just like, yeesh, But I also like what they've done with Krillin. I think just the fact that there was a time where you wouldn't even expect Krillin to show up, and the fact that they found interesting ways to have him get involved in a lot of these things where it's like he is clearly outclassed, but he's going to do what he can do. I like it. I don't know. I don't need him to save the day per se. Like, I think what he did in this particular movie was fine. He saves Pan. He saved his wife temporarily. He distracts Cell Max long enough for Gamma 2 to rush him. I'm like, this is fine for me. I don't mind Krillin in this role. And then I guess lastly, how do you feel about these modern Dragon Ball movies versus the movies that we grew up with in the 90s and 2000s?
Oh, the ones in the 90s were priceless, bro.
Okay.
I would say the earlier ones all the way up to the first Broly movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would skip BoJack, and I would say Janemba was the best one out of the last of the ones in the row. Because, like, bro, when I look at World's Strongest, Tree of Might, like World's Strongest and Tree of Might, like bro, especially during those two Nani eras, bro, that Tree of Might movie was literally like it's literally imprinted in your mind, that fight of a Goku clone. Like, because that's when all the Z fighters, like before Vegeta came into the mix, is like they all show up to the tree. They all have a person that they could fight, and this and that and the third. And then, like Lord Slug was cool. Cooler's Revenge, like Cooler, just the introduction of Cooler and Broly. Those was two of some of the most best characters ever introduced. And it even goes to show you, even in the video games, out of all the movie characters of people's favorites, Cooler and Broly get picked every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was so much backstory with them that they could have explored, which I'm glad Super did for Broly. But I felt like, Cooler would have been a great introduction to Super, because my thing about it is, all right, if you're telling me the Frieza's army is still building around, like even after Frieza was killed and Vegeta like basically destroyed the remnants of it, who kept this afloat? The last member of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that could have introduced, like, because, he already showed us he has a transformation, which is technically the fourth,
mm-hmm.
which could have been Frieza's actual transformation, but like a variation of it. But it's like, no, but they just chose a different route.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yes, like compared to the movies that have passed, like these movies don't really, they're better in animation. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But the core substance of it, and just even in terms of like fighting scale, they can't compare.
Okay. I somewhat agree. I somewhat disagree. This thing, we're down to 10 minutes already, but that's fine. I think the ideas, for the most part, of the original 13 Dragon Ball movies are unmatched. Of course, there are a couple stinkers, right? There's a couple movies where
Bio Broly.
Yeah, you're right. I'm like, there's the Bio Broly. I think, for as much as people enjoy Cooler the character, his movies are essentially Frieza. It's just Frieza. Like he comes, he transforms, but he can't be the Super Saiyan. He comes back in a mellow body, can't be, Super Saiyan again. It's like it's Frieza. Like, let's just call it for what it is. But the idea of his older brother is great. And obviously, like you said, it's lived on past the movie itself. I think, yeah, like you said, like the Tree of Might, super interesting concept. the world's strongest, barring trying to steal the strongest fighters alive's body. Like there's these ideas, I think, that are kind of being missed out in modern Dragon Ball. Like there's these really, really cool concepts of like, yeah, even with Janemba, what if hell opened back up and all of these fighters kind of, like were terrorizing the earth? That's an amazing concept. I would say that there's a mixture between, like, I think there's some movies, like I do think the modern Broly movie outclasses a lot of the older movies, in my opinion. I would even say that Battle of the Gods outclasses some of the old movies, in my opinion, in terms of story. Like there's a lot of story happening. Resurrection F, not so much. And then Superheroes kind of like not so much as well. Kind of just like, all right, this is cool, I guess. In terms of concept. So I would say that like I am cautiously optimistic about modern Dragon Ball. I do think there's still, like I said, there's so much lore you can pull from if they take the time to really explore it. Right. Like you said, like I think, even with Piccolo's new transformation, there's a whole nother Namekian arc that could be explored. Right. There's a whole way in which, if they wanted to, again, start incorporating movie characters, you could reapproach Slug and do it in a way that makes sense. These are original super Namekians who have all these powers and were sealed away or what. There's so much things you could do that still kind of moves the characters forward. Doesn't make it sane based. It doesn't have to be a Goku Vegeta coming to save the day every single time. And, these characters get to live on. And I guess because we're almost out of time, is there any like closing things that you felt like we didn't like approach, or something that you might have thought of along the recording session?
I'm actually interested in looking to see what they do with Pan. It's like, ever since the Majin Buu saga, they've been saying like, they want to invest more into the next generation. So I definitely would like to see more of what they do with these androids, Goten and Trunks, now Gohan and Piccolo. It's time to really see, and you got to say this outside of the big three, like what can Dragon Ball really do outside of Goku, Vegeta, and Broly as of now?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would say that I think it's time to leave Universe 7 for me. I think we're reaching the point where I'm like, I don't know how many more stories we can do that are based around staying in the same universe, whether it be for the manga or the anime. Like the fact that, we've had to deal with Moro, who's from this universe. We've had to deal with Granola and, the Ceruleans or whatever who are from this universe. Let's bring other universe threats into this point now. There has to be a reason why Jiren was as strong as he is. There has to be. It can't just be like he just happened to be abnormally strong. Why is it that we have all these fighters from the universes that are just so much more powerful and don't necessarily implement God Ki to gain their strength? So like that's what I would like to see more moving forward. Like let's stop returning ideas. We don't need to see, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this from Dragon Ball? And that's something that maybe I will want to do in a different discussion of like, in what ways do you think the games have ruined Dragon Ball? Because one of the things I thought about watching Gohan transform is that regardless of it being lazy or not, we've seen Gohan transform like this at least 10 times over the run of the video games. From Budokai 1 to Fighters, we've seen this over and over in different 3D models and different art styles and different camera angles. What about this series kind of hitting the same beats is causing more of a rapid deterioration of the series? And I think we're in a place where it's like Dragon Ball still has a chance to still do really cool things. I would love, again, for it to get back to techniques and actual martial arts. That was actually one of the more underrated parts of Resurrection F for me, where it's like, if you watch, they're actually doing martial art techniques on Frieza's army. It's not just big blast here, big blast here. Like Piccolo's using his feet to trip up enemies, and Tien is like countering and flipping people over and using, blows to knock them out. Like, let's bring some of that back rather than this person punches faster than this person and now he's powered up and now he can't touch him. Like, I just think there's ways of elements that haven't been addressed in Dragon Ball for some time that I think could get back to it.
That's very true.
Yeah. So we got 4 minutes left. This has been our Dragon Ball Super superhero wrap up and grand return to the, I guess, video podcast discussion of all things anime and video games. And yeah, I guess until next time, thank you guys for welcoming us back, and hopefully we'll have a lot more content for you soon.